Have you ever been sitting quietly, maybe watching TV, folding laundry, or just reading a book, when all of a sudden, you feel an itch that just won't quit? Not a mosquito bite, not a passing tickle, but a spot that keeps bothering you no matter how many times you scratch it. Maybe it's your back, maybe your legs, maybe even your chest. You try lotion. You try changing your clothes. You might even start wondering, is this just dry skin, or something more? Now, I know what you might be thinking, itching? Come on, that's hardly a big deal. And most of the time, that's true. We all get itchy sometimes, especially as we get older and our skin gets thinner and drier. But what if I told you that certain types of itching, especially in very specific areas, can actually be your body's way of sounding the alarm? Not in a dramatic way, but more like a gentle tap on the shoulder saying, hey, pay attention to this. Something might not be right inside. See, the older we get, the more important it becomes to tune into these little signs. Because our bodies don't always shout when something's wrong. Sometimes, they whisper. And if we ignore those whispers for too long, they can turn into something much louder and much harder to manage. That's why today, we're going to talk about something that hardly anyone ever mentions, the hidden meaning behind chronic itching in 3 particular areas of the body. Places that, if they start bothering you persistently, without a clear cause, could be pointing to more serious issues going on beneath the surface. And no, this isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you, to give you the knowledge you need to act early, ask the right questions, and protect your health. Let's begin with something you may have noticed and brushed off, itchiness in the lower legs, especially around the shins or calves. Now, most of us would immediately assume, well, it's dry skin. I just need to moisturize more. And often, that's all it is. But here's the thing, if that itch doesn't go away, if it gets worse at night, or if your skin starts changing color in that area, it could be more than just dryness. This kind of persistent itch in the lower legs is often associated with circulatory issues, especially something called chronic venous insufficiency. That's a fancy term for when the veins in your legs aren't circulating blood as well as they used to. And when that happens, blood starts pooling in your legs instead of flowing smoothly back to your heart. Your skin can become irritated, inflamed, and yes, itchy. It might even look shiny, reddish, or slightly swollen. And why does this matter? Because poor circulation in the legs isn't just uncomfortable. It can lead to bigger problems, like blood clots, leg ulcers, or even strokes. The itch is just the beginning. Your body is trying to get your attention before something worse happens. So if your legs are constantly itchy, especially in the same spots, and especially if they look a little off, it's worth talking to your doctor. Not just for relief, but to make sure your heart and blood vessels are doing their job. Now, let's move up the body a bit, to a place people rarely talk about itching, the upper back, particularly between the shoulder blades. You might think, oh, that's just from sweat, or my bra strap, or leaning on the couch too long. And sometimes it is. But if you're dealing with persistent itching in this area that doesn't respond to creams or changes in clothing, and especially if it's paired with a feeling of fatigue or loss of appetite, you might be looking at a much more internal issue. This kind of itch has actually been connected to liver function problems. When the liver starts struggling, whether from fatty liver, hepatitis, or even early-stage liver disease, it can cause a buildup of bile salts in the bloodstream. And one of the most common ways your body responds to that? Itching. Not always pain. Not always jaundice. Just this odd, hard to pinpoint itch that no amount of scratching can satisfy. And because your back has a high concentration of nerve endings, that's often where it shows up first. So if you're constantly asking your spouse to scratch your back, or finding yourself rubbing against door frames like a cat, take a moment to think about whether this is a new, unexplained pattern. It could be your liver quietly asking for help. Of course, not every itch means disaster. Sometimes we really are just dry, or sensitive to detergent, or reacting to that new sweater. But when the itch is deep, persistent, and comes with other subtle symptoms, like fatigue, a change in appetite, or feeling off without knowing why, that's when it deserves more attention. The last spot I want to talk about might surprise you. It's a place that many people feel embarrassed to mention, especially in older age. But you know what? There's no shame in being curious about what's happening to your body. I'm talking about persistent itching around the chest and underarm area, particularly in women. Again, a little irritation here and there is normal. Our skin folds more as we age, we sweat differently, and bras don't always breathe the way they should. But when this area itches constantly, when the skin begins to thicken, or you notice subtle puckering, dimpling, or even a rash that doesn't go away, it's time to pay close attention. Because unfortunately, some forms of breast cancer don't begin with a lump. They begin with changes in the skin, itchiness, texture changes, redness, or soreness. This is especially true for a rare type known as inflammatory breast cancer, which doesn't always show up on a mammogram early. That's why if your chest or underarm starts itching consistently, and it's not linked to allergies, soap, or a new shirt, your body might be waving a red flag. Now, I know this can sound overwhelming. But the purpose here isn't to make you panic. It's to help you be proactive. Because when caught early, all of the conditions I just mentioned, circulatory issues, liver trouble, even certain cancers, can be managed, treated, and in many cases reversed or slowed down. But your body can't call you on the phone. It can't send a text. All it can do is nudge you with signs, small signs like a patch of skin that just won't stop itching. So the next time you reach down to scratch, pause. Ask yourself, is this something new? Has it been lingering? Does it come with other symptoms I've been brushing off? And if the answer is yes, give yourself permission to dig deeper. Not every itch is urgent. But your health always is. Now that we've talked about the legs, the back, and the chest, we've started peeling back the layers of what your body might be trying to tell you. Watching and feel that these insights are meaningful. Please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. Because so often, what we brush off as just a little itch is really a quiet call for attention. And let's be honest, when we're older, it becomes easier to ignore these small signs. We get used to aches, changes, and discomfort. We say things like, well, I'm not young anymore, or that's probably just my age. But here's the thing, aging doesn't mean ignoring. It means listening better, more carefully than ever. And the beauty of it is this, your body still speaks to you. Every single day. It's not always loud. It's not always clear. But it never stops trying to communicate. That's not a burden, it's a gift. You just need to know how to listen. Now let's go a little deeper into what might really be going on under the surface when itching becomes more than skin deep. Let's talk about the emotional layer that often gets left out of the conversation. You see, one of the most overlooked reasons for persistent itchiness, especially when doctors can't find anything physically wrong, is stress and anxiety. Yes, that's right. Chronic stress, even the kind you don't think about anymore because you've gotten used to it, can cause your nervous system to go a little haywire. And for many older adults, this doesn't show up as panic attacks or tears. It shows up as restlessness in the body, irritation, twitching, and yes, itching. That itch you feel at night? It might not just be from dry skin, it could be your nervous system struggling to calm down after a day of silent worries. Maybe you've been anxious about your health, your finances, or a loved one. Maybe there's loneliness hiding beneath your busy days. You're smiling on the outside, but inside, your mind is working overtime. And here's something powerful to understand. Your skin is connected to your nerves, your hormones, and your emotions. That's why when you're stressed, your skin acts up. When you're sad, it looks dull. When you're nervous, it flares. There's even a term for this, psychogenic itch. It sounds technical, but it really just means your skin is crying out on behalf of your emotions. So what do? You start by being gentle with yourself. Not everything needs a pill or a diagnosis. Sometimes what we need most is to slow down, take a deep breath, and ask, what is my body trying to tell me emotionally? If you've been feeling on edge, struggling to sleep, or keeping your fears to yourself, maybe it's time to bring more calm into your day. That might look like a slow walk in nature, calling a friend, practicing gratitude, or simply sitting quietly with a cup of tea and letting your shoulders drop. Because healing doesn't always begin in the skin. Sometimes it begins in the heart. Now, let's bring the focus back to something more practical. How can you tell when itchiness is harmless and when it's a signal? It comes down to patterns. If you've had mild itching after changing laundry detergent, wearing wool, or spending a day in dry air, that's normal. But if the itching is persistent, localized, and accompanied by changes in your skin's appearance, or how your body feels overall, it's time to take action. Let's say the itching has lasted more than 2 weeks. You've moisturized, changed your soap, and ruled out obvious irritants. But it's still there. You may even notice it worsens at night, or it interferes with your sleep. That's a flag. Or maybe you've lost a little weight without trying. Maybe your appetite's off. Maybe you're more tired than usual and just figured, it's my age. But when you add up these symptoms with itching in one of those key areas, your legs, back, or chest, it starts to paint a picture. And it's better to look at that picture now than to wait for it to become a crisis. What's more, your doctor may not always make the connection unless you speak up clearly. Don't just say, my skin itches. Say, I've had an itch here for a few weeks. Lotion doesn't help. I'm also more tired than usual, and I've lost 5 pounds without trying. That gives them a fuller picture to work with. And don't feel silly or dramatic for bringing it up. You're not being a burden. You're being wise. Your body has carried you through so much. You've walked through storms, joys, losses, triumphs. You've taken care of others. Now, it's your turn to take care of you. Sometimes, the issue isn't even in the skin, it's in what's going on internally that's affecting your nerves and blood. For example, certain forms of cancer, like lymphoma, often cause itching before any other symptom shows up. Not pain. Not a lump. Just a stubborn itch, sometimes in one place, sometimes all over. Now, of course, that doesn't mean every itch is a sign of something serious. But when the itch comes with fatigue, night sweats, or swelling, it's worth looking into. Because when caught early, many of these conditions can be treated effectively. And if you're wondering what kind of testing you should ask for, blood work is a great place to start. A simple liver panel, kidney function test, or inflammatory marker can often detect what's happening beneath the surface. You don't need a full body scan right away. Just a conversation. A few simple questions. A willingness to advocate for yourself. Because here's the truth, you are still your body's best advocate. Even if you don't have a medical degree. Even if you've never asked a question in the exam room before. Even if you were taught to tough it out and not complain. That was then. This is now. And now, the smartest thing you can do is pay attention to the smallest signs before they become big ones. And remember, you're not weak for wanting answers. You're strong for listening. Let's take a breath here. I want you to know that this isn't about living in fear. This is about living in awareness. And when you live with awareness, you gain freedom. Freedom to act early. Freedom to feel better. Freedom to enjoy the time you have, stronger, safer, and more empowered. Now that we've talked more about the emotional and deeper physical reasons behind these itchy signals, we can move even closer to understanding what your body really needs from you. Because when your body speaks, the kindest thing you can do is listen, without fear, without guilt, just with curiosity and care. Let's talk now about what you can actually do to protect your health when these kinds of symptoms show up. Not with panic. Not with overreaction. But with simple, steady actions that can make a real difference in your well-being. First, let's start where all healing begins, awareness and honesty. If you've noticed persistent itching in any of those areas we've talked about, your lower legs, your back, your chest or underarms, don't wait for it to go away on its own. Pay attention to how long it's lasted, how often it returns, whether there are other little signs tagging along, like swelling, changes in appetite, fatigue, or even mood shifts. These things might seem unrelated, but together, they tell a story. And you deserve to know your story. Not the one others assume about your age. Not the one the world tries to tell you about getting older. But the real story your body is telling you now, one that still has many pages left to write, if you care for it with wisdom. If you feel uncomfortable talking to your doctor about something like itching, write it down before you go in. Jot a few notes. Even bring this video up during your appointment if it helps explain what you're feeling. There's power in being prepared. And when your provider sees that you're paying attention to your body, they'll know to take it seriously too. And here's something important: you don't have to wait until something's wrong to take action. It's never too late to protect your liver, your heart, your circulation, and your immune system. Even small changes make a difference. Drinking more water throughout the day. Eating less processed food and more fresh, colorful meals. Moving your body, gently, daily. Not because someone says you should, but because your body will thank you for it. You don't have to run marathons. Just a 10-minute walk. A little stretch in the morning. Breathing deeply before bed. And don't underestimate the power of joy. Yes, joy. When your mind is lighter, your body responds. That means less tension, less inflammation, and fewer strange symptoms that come from chronic worry. So if you love music, play it. If you love gardening, get your hands in the dirt. If you love to laugh, watch that silly comedy again. Joy is medicine, too. Especially for the nervous system, which, as we talked about, can be directly linked to skin and itching. I also want to gently mention that you deserve peace of mind. Sometimes we get so used to feeling off that we forget what it feels like to feel good. So we stop asking questions. We stop seeking help. We settle. But I want you to know that you are allowed to feel better. You are allowed to push for answers. You are allowed to expect more from your body, not because you're demanding perfection, but because you value this life you've built. If you've made it to this point in the video, it means you care deeply about your health, and that alone tells me something wonderful about you. It tells me you're not the kind of person who gives up. You're the kind who stays curious. The kind who knows that age doesn't mean the end of vitality. It just means we need to be smarter about how we care for ourselves. And if no one has told you lately, you're doing a good job. Seriously. Aging is not for the faint of heart. It takes patience, strength, and grace. You're still showing up. You're still learning. You're still trying to feel better, live better, and be here for the people you love. That matters. And it's something to be proud of. So if your body is sending you signals, even strange little ones like a nagging itch, don't ignore it. Don't minimize it. But also, don't let fear take over. Just pause. Ask questions. Look at the full picture. And if something doesn't feel right, trust yourself enough to investigate it. Because the truth is, longevity isn't just about genes. It's about how closely you're willing to listen to the whispers of your body before they turn into shouts. Let today be the day you decide to trust those whispers. Now, if this conversation has resonated with you in any way, I want to hear from you. Maybe you've had a strange health symptom that turned out to mean something deeper. Maybe you've been brushing off an itch that won't go away and now you're realizing it deserves a closer look. Whatever your story is, drop a comment below. You never know who might feel less alone reading your experience. If you found this video helpful or comforting, go ahead and give it a like. It helps more people in our age group find real, honest health content made just for them. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this, where we talk about the things no one else seems to want to bring up. Because around here, we believe aging doesn't mean fading away. It means showing up wiser, stronger, and more tuned in than ever before. Here's to listening to your body. Here's to living your longest, healthiest life, itch-free, fear-free, and full of grace. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. Thank you for spending time with us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned from this video and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your insights mean a lot to us and give us the motivation to keep spreading positivity and practical advice. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Your support truly helps us continue creating meaningful content that informs, inspires, and uplifts. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.